This is a test of the Boundary Park alert system.
Hello and welcome to the Boundary Park alert system, being recorded, gone 7:30 at night, and it's not because I've gone missing in action during the day. It's dry January and I'm on my best behaviour. It's just it was the easiest or the most convenient, or in fact the only time we could do it today. So good evening, Andy.
Yeah, good evening. You're right. I wasn't supposed to be here. If this was the normal morning record time, I was going to be away and it was going to be Sexy Dave. But the evening record time has meant I'm back in.
Yeah, and a huge sigh of relief has gone around the entire fan base as a result. So that's good. Dave will be taking your place next week, won't he? But that's only for 1 week as opposed to 2 weeks on the bounce. So
yeah,
small mercies and all that. And just, if you're listening, Dave, all right, mate. So we've got a debut fan guest. So let's get stuck straight into it. What with it being nearly bedtime and all that. And Andy, ask your questions, please.
Welcome, fan guest. Can you tell us when your first game was, please?
Yeah, so I had to do a bit of research. I'm pretty sure it was a 0-0 draw at home to Portsmouth in 1996. Yeah, I don't really remember it. The first one that I really remember was the FA Cup game against Chelsea. I think it was the sausage roll game. Yeah, 2-0.
Yeah. I don't remember that game. That's 96, 97's the year we went down, isn't it?
I think so.
Yeah, it's your fault. Can you tell us who, therefore, was your first favourite player?
Yeah, well, you've probably not had this one before, but from tedious family links, my first favourite player was Matthew Tipton. And then when I actually got into,
you're gonna have to elaborate, yeah.
He's my auntie's son-in-law.
Ah, okay.
So, yeah, currently managing over in Ireland, I think.
Is that what he's doing now? Is it?
Yeah. But yeah, like when I actually got a season ticket and got into football, then it was Fitz Hall was my favourite player.
Oh, one size. What a player he was. Yeah. What is your, given all of that, what is your favourite Latics related memory?
It's got to be Liverpool, isn't it? I mean, you can't really have 18 seasons in Division 2/League 1 and have anything of exciting note to tell. So yeah, it's got to be Liverpool.
Yeah, it's a big and regular favourite, and yeah, given the last 20 odd years, it's kind of understandable. And can you tell us a little unknown fact about yourself?
Well, I don't know if this is true, but it is as true to my knowledge as can be after a bit of vanity searching. I think until I got married, I am the only person with my surname in the world.
And therefore, who are you? Let's reveal your surname.
So my Twitter handle is the Manton Howard for a reason, because I was the only one. So I'm James Manton Howard.
The only Manton Howard. I confess I've never come across another Manton Howard, so I will believe you.
I think there's a James Newton Howard who's a famous film composer, but other than that,
it's not good enough, is it? It's not Manton. Not having it. Have you ever met a Manton Howard, Matt, on your travels?
Well, I was just thinking it's a shame that you're not a famous footballer, because when they chant there's only one Manton Howard, it would have been
exactly
absolutely spot on, wouldn't it? Even if you were shy, they could still chant it because it would be factually accurate.
I mean, it is factually accurate. I am.
Sure. Yeah. So, well, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
You speaking of your Twitter handle, you do refer to yourself as somebody whose hobby is arguing with people on the internet.
Yeah, and I do quite a lot of it.
Yeah. So let's see how that transpires to arguing with people on a podcast, which of course is on the internet. So it should work out pretty good.
And you might recall, Matt, part of the reason why James very gamely said he would come on as well is because we quoted him last week's episode. It was James's tweet that set us off talking about whether or not Mickey Mellon signings are up to scratch or not. So maybe that's a topic that we'll come back to.
It was the number of signings, I think, that you referred to, James, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's gone up since then as well.
That's true. Yeah. So we'll come on to the broader picture. First, of course, we must address the voodoo magic that Newcastle's tiny team, Gateshead United, have over us. Is it Gateshead United? Is that right?
It's just Gateshead.
I thought I said it. I don't know, mate. That was Newcastle United, not Gateshead United. We can't beat Gateshead. We've been down here now for 3 seasons. We've played them twice in each season and once in the FA Trophy, and we've not beaten that 7 times without beating Gateshead. So yesterday, more of the same. Did you both manage to watch the game, or anyone managed to watch the game?
I've watched I've watched the goals. But I didn't even listen to it yesterday because, of course, I was out, as you knew, and I believe the commentary was off anyway for this part of it. So I'm absolutely hopeless. I'm going to let you two talk about it, hoping at least one of you has watched it.
I didn't watch it, but I did listen to it on. I think it was the Heed Army. They did a live stream, so they had it on YouTube. So I listened to it through their commentary.
They did the official commentary on the stream as well. It was really, really good, wasn't it? Their commentary.
Yeah.
Really professional and balanced. Really, really good. Obviously, we've spoken to them on the phone and we've met them online, and it's really good. But yeah, how did it sound to you, James? Apart from obviously the good commentary, how did the football sound? How did the game come across?
I mean, just similar to what people were putting up on the internet, really, that, we started a bit sloppy and then got into the game and pretty much dominated for the first half. And then slowly but surely, everything just went to pot again, It kind of reverted back to the long ball that we know and love from Mickey Mellon. And then they just obviously score with their one shot on goal, and that's it.
Yeah, I mean, I did manage to watch it, obviously through my media privileges, 100% legally. I watched the game, and it's like it did start off like that. The Gateshead for the first 10 minutes were the better team, but we really, really took control of the game, and we didn't play a long ball. Like, first half was far, far better. Like, they totally rediscovered the joys of gravity and keep the ball on the ground instead of hoofing it. Pet played better. His delivery was superb from corners, brilliant corner for Fondop's goal, really good header, brave header, brilliant ball in. Him and Rossiter looked all right. It was much better. Second half, Gateshead improved and had a go. I don't think we necessarily reverted to long ball in the second half, but we just couldn't get through them as easily as we did in the first half. We had chances we should have taken again. We're just not clinical at the moment, are we? Apart from 13 goal Mike Fondop, who was without his goals we'd be knackered this season, won't we?
I guess.
Yeah, Andy reluctantly.
Well, I mean, we'll come back to that. Let me ask you some questions. I can't comment on it. I didn't watch it. I've read up about it, and I've only seen the goals. I mean, it was an absolutely piss poor goal to concede, and looking at it when it was awful. But from reading, it sounded like we had half an hour of the 90 minutes where we're on top, and that'd be about it, right? So, I mean, that's not good enough, is it? Just half an hour of 90 minutes. You need to be on it a bit more than that. And did we miss chances in that first half? Did Waters miss a chance and Fondop miss one as well, did he? Or
we missed chances in both half, but we also got away with the Stonewall penalty as well.
Yeah, right throughout the start, was it?
Yeah, Ogle just took his man out right in front of the referee. He didn't give it. I don't know why, but a bit like the one against, was it Ebbsfleet away? When he got away with one there as well. So, Yeah, look, I mean, the thing is with it, in isolation, apart from the frustration of not being able to beat Gateshead, a point at Gateshead is not the worst result. It's the fact that it was our second point out of a possible 15 available that is the problem. You know, like you could handle going to Eastleigh and Gateshead and picking up a point on the road if you'd won your own games, if you'd beat Aldershot and obviously Hartlepool's an away game, and the York game. I mean, York yesterday lost to Boston. What the hell's going on there?
York are in not a great vein form. Well, they put Josh Stones back in. I saw. So they've had a system working for them this season. They've bought Josh Stones. Yeah, their marquee signing, and they're trying to force him in. And by forcing him in, it changes the system. And do you know what? I could have anticipated that. You know,
I saw a lot of people saying some similar things online before he played for him.
He's a young kid. He's 21 years of age. Leading the line on his own is going to be a difficult ask, and playing alongside someone with more experience probably would benefit him. And York haven't necessarily got that. He's got to be their main man. And you know, I don't wish him any ill particularly, but you know, I'm not surprised that it's going to take some time to work. I'm sure he'll come good in the end, but he possibly would have been better off for his career had he been playing with us bizarrely. But look, money talks, doesn't it? I think the thing that you're right, your summation is right. A point away at Gateshead, one place in front of us in isolation is fine. But they've had a lot of players leave. I know Booty came back yesterday, but hadn't played for a few weeks because he was on strike. And their last two home games, I think they'd lost 3-1 to Halifax and Boston. So they were there for the taking, really. And the concern is that we're missing chances. I mean, how many chances did we create? Clear-cut chances did we create? Having not watched that, I can't comment. How many did we create?
I mean, on the highlight, I'm trying to remember. I can't remember everything from the game, but I mean, Waters had one where he hit over with his left foot. That was a good chance. He had another one where Gateshead did the stupid defending thing again, passed it out straight to Billy Waters, or no, it wasn't to Waters. Somebody who passed it to Waters. He had a shot when he should have squared it for Fondop. If he'd have squared it for Fondop, it's a tap in. Fondop had a chance as well, which he played a 1-2 with Leak, who put the ball in and couldn't wrap his foot around it. I mean, there was no like misses from 6 yards or anything like that, but there were chances to score.
And so that just brings me back to the, you know, like you say, thank God for Mike Fondop's 13 goals. And I've seen comments about, you know, it's a disgrace that Fondop was dropped. He's our leading man and he's our leading scorer and he should never have been dropped and all that sort of stuff. And I can understand that from one point of view. But then my comment is this: if Mike Fondop is your talisman, you're not going up. It's just not good enough. He's not in isolation a good enough leading number 9 to take a team up.
Well, that brings us back to Norwood, doesn't it? Who's supposed? I know he didn't play today because he's injured, but he's supposed to be our main man for goals. And we've spoken about him at length, Andy. What do you make of Norwood, James? And do you think his future is better off elsewhere, and do you think it will be elsewhere?
I think it will be. Yeah. I mean, I love him, but I think you can file him under a few other strikers that we've had under Mellon that we just don't play to his strengths. We don't get the ball in the box enough. We don't have runners in behind. You know, everything's played in front of defences. Nobody runs beyond the forwards to create space for like pullbacks and things like that. So, yeah, he very rarely even has chances. Never mind scores goals. You know, for at least Fondop, he puts himself about a bit. Things bounce off him and it can help other players, but. Yeah, Norwood's just not that sort of player. And again, Waters is similar, you know, Reed as well. Yeah, there's a long list of players that are like this.
Strikers need to have, it's a percentage thing, isn't it? You need to have a number of chances before you're going to stick them in. One that sticks out in my mind was Andy Cole. I mean, played it, you know, in those great United sides. So Andy Cole missed a lot of chances, but he scored a lot of goals as well because the team that he played for made a load of chances and he was in the right positions. And, you know, like you say, James, we just don't have enough shots and attempts on goal, do we? We're just not making enough clear-cut chances for the strikers, and it is an issue. And another issue is defending as well, because yesterday that goal, we weren't playing Man City, were we? Barcelona in their prime, playing it out all the way from their goalkeeper, cutting all the way through our team and scoring in the other. It was cringy to watch. I mean, it's different to the majority of goals we've let in the last couple of games where it's been that big punt up top. But again, the similarity is they've just got through us far too easily.
I think we've conceded 6 out of the last 7 shots on target, something like that.
Right.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, that's a bad start, that, isn't it? I mean, I've been not wanting to point the finger too much at Hudson. Yesterday, I thought that he maybe got distracted by the man coming in with the ball and ignored the other lad who was coming in to have the ball to be squared to. But he again, the last line of defence, they'd played it all the way through the park without getting a tackle in. So I can't blame him for that either.
No, I don't think you could blame him for that. It looked like it was carved open, Yeah. The goals in the week, he did with the one at the post against York, and nobody reacted. And you can pick holes in him for sure, but I don't think he's chucking it in the net every week, is he? There's an odd one. He could have parried that second one that went in against York. He might have parried that wide, but it was quite close and it was hit hard. And it's difficult, isn't it, to pin the blame on him? We're just defending badly as a unit, and it's not great.
No, I've not listened to Mickey Mellon's interview yet, so
neither have I. But I did listen to his 15-minute in presser though, which I did find interesting. Because his pressers are normally quite short and sharp and to the point, and not overly revealing, but he did 15 minutes before Gateshead on Friday, which I thought was interesting. But I've not listened to this, so let's have a listen now. Yeah,
Mickey, how do you view that point?
Hard-earned point. First half of football were excellent. Second half they do what they do. That's why we're at that top end of the table. They came at us a little bit, but I think that we did fine. We probably have defended for their goal. We know what we should have done and what we should have done better. So we're clear about that. But overall, over the course of the whole game, I think the lads at the back defended well. I think the midfield players worked their socks off, and for a wee bit more up front, I think the keepers made some really good saves. I can't remember my keeper having to make many or any, to be honest. I think their keepers made a lot of saves. We came up here to win, but with the minimum we were going to have to do was come up here and get something to try and stop the little run the little poor run that we've been on results wise. But the players played under the conditions, understood that they would have to get that. So every credit to them for that. No, it was a hard fought battling point coming to a difficult place.
Should we have been more clinical?
Yeah. If we're being, if we're working at the levels of the standards that we hold the players to, because we believe that they're good players, their opportunities that probably other teams have scored against us recently, your older shots, your Yorks, they have had minimum chances against us and punished us for that. So you would have to say, if you're going to win the game today, we have to take them. We have to be more clinical, because at the other end, Matt, I don't think it's a save to make. I don't think it's a single save to make over the course of the whole game. Just that one mistake it is from us, because we know that we have to match the runs. We work on that all the time, and we try and step up instead of being. It's maybe a bit lazy. You've just got to stay with the man and make the run, because they're all capable. They're all very quick at the back. That's why we're able to play the way we play. We'll play even numbers at the back. We take big risks, and because we want to get more players up the pitch. But when the job comes along like that, you've got to do it properly. But so that was nitpicking, because I think over the course of the whole game, considering even the new players that have came in to play for us, it was a hard fought point.
You touched on the last couple of results coming into today on the back of 2 defeats. Did you get the response in terms of the application that you wanted?
Yeah, I don't think we haven't played poorly. No way have we played poorly. We have been punished, and that's what happens when maybe at certain times of the season you get punished. But we have had opportunities at the other end to be clinical and punish other teams, and probably haven't done that. And then games have run away from us. And today, always a difficult place to come, always a difficult team to play against. We're always in the front foot, want to try and press them high and get after them. And they played some lovely football at times, created some opportunities. And yeah, I think you're right, Al. I think their keeper's made some really, really good saves. Every credit to him for that. That's what he's there for. But he's made some really, really good saves. But from our point of view, we would want to be more clinical and we would have to get the full 3 points from today.
You touched on the recent additions, Jordan Rossiter, Tom Pett, and Jake Leake, who made his first start today. How pleased were you?
And Matt Warrington's come on as well.
Yeah.
I thought they were brilliant today. I did. I thought they were really, really good. I thought they showed all the qualities that we're going to need. And they have moved us Oldham to being a team that competes at the top end of the National League comfortably. So that's what we wanted to try and create. We have to, first and foremost, we have to understand where we are as a football club, and that's where we have to be good at the top end of the league. And today, the players showed that we're in and among that. The work rate is great, their attitude's superb, and the way that they've come into the group and helped us with their personalities and things like that have been terrific. So I'm really, really happy with them.
Just to finish off on a few injuries, changes from Tuesday, no Norwood and Kitchen, and also
all injured. All injured and going to be injured for a while. So yeah, out of my hands, all of that. They're going to be out for a while. So we're running with at the minute. Pretty much we will be. But if I can keep them fit, I won't have a problem with it. I'll expect us to be competitive every game, like we were today. And just keep going, keep the head down, keep pushing.
Thanks a lot, Mickey.
Thank you, Al.
Yeah, we're certainly not sort of being, much favour with it with injuries at the minute. They're coming thick and fast. That unfortunately we're not Man City or Chelsea, and we can't stockpile like for like replacements for everybody, despite seemingly the large numbers of players that we've recruited. I was just flicking through, just as someone who likes arguing on the internet, James. I was just looking through your tweets. You won a few days ago, just asking if anyone is zen as fuck right about now, and if we have any faith in Mellon or Royal getting it right. Are we all overreacting? Is there nothing to worry about regarding recruitment? So there's a lot to unpack in that tweet.
Yeah.
Where are you then in terms of having faith in Mellon, Royal, and are you overreacting now? Tell us how you're feeling at this stage in the season.
So, beginning of the season, before the season started, I thought we'd 100% make the playoffs. I thought Mellon had instilled not necessarily ability or tactics, but the attitude in players that, we've got a bit of character and we can drag ourselves back into games. Then I suppose it all started when we signed Clucas, because we'd won, I think, 6 out of 8 of the previous games before signing Clucas. Then he comes in, obviously improves the team. Results don't necessarily improve, but performances did, again with Stones. So I think we won 5 of the next 7. And then 2025 has hit, and yeah, it's all gone to shit. I think, when you lose, we've probably lost our 4 most influential players in Conlon, Clucas, Stones, and then Norwood. But with Norwood playing with Stones, then I suppose, they had a really good partnership together. And I think any team that signs, is it 7 that we're up to so far in January?
Yeah, 7, yeah.
Then, I just don't, that doesn't fill me with a lot of confidence. No team that expects to go up is signing 7 players in January. So I'm not I wouldn't say I'm Mellon out. I'm more probably a director of football in. I don't think I liken Darren Royal to Ed Woodward, who was at the Red over yonder, in that he's really good at things like commercial deals and getting interest into the club. However, as a football team, yeah, I don't think he's up to much.
Well, is he? You know, this is where people make assumptions and come to conclusions, and possibly get 5 from adding 2 and 2. Is we know he's got a football background, in as much as obviously his family are involved, but he was involved in the stats products that were flogged to all clubs across Europe, quite honestly. So he has a background in that, which should only be of benefit in theory to the club, and you know, and therefore he could have some influence or some say in how to use those products. But as far as I understand it, Mickey Mellon and his team, bear in mind, not only has he recruited lots of new players, he entirely changed the backroom staff over the summer, pretty much. He is choosing the players. That's my understanding.
Okay. So
that Darren Royal is not involved in the recruitment of footballers, other than he may well be involved in doing the negotiations with agents or agreeing terms with players or whatever, with the agreement of the board of directors and also the management staff. He's not running off doing things solo. It's a team effort. Everyone communicates and they all get on and work together. So it's not Darren Royal deciding who to sign. It's Mickey Mellon and his team deciding who to sign. That's my understanding.
yeah, so even more reason to get a director of football. If Mellon is the one that's picking everything, that's choosing everything, and Darren Royal is presumably doing the negotiations on his behalf, then that to me is even more reason for a director of football to come in.
It depends on what the role of a director of football is, like across the football club, I think, because at this stage, I mean, obviously under the Lemsgums, we had more, inverted commas, director of sport or whatever he was called. Sporting director, whatever. But, in this, and then we were crying out for a manager, and a manager makes the decisions, a manager signs the players. So that's what we've got now. And obviously now in some ways we're talking about the director of football. For me, a director of football is somebody who works across the entire club at all levels. And I don't think that the club at this moment in time are thinking like that, because they want to plan for that in the EFL, when you've got your proper youth set up, and they can start planning for the future. I think you look at somewhere like Bromley and the way that they brought players through and all that. Bromley are in the EFL for the first time. They're not the kind of club that, they needed to have a long-term strategy of developing their club in that way. And I think fans would be offended if they thought that we were settling for being in this division for a long time. So I think there's different ways of looking at it. You could say that a team that's serious about promotion doesn't sign 7 players in January, but then you could also say that a team that is serious about promotion signs 7 players in January if they need them, because obviously because of the injuries.
That's the point, though, isn't it? We shouldn't need them because Clucas was given a ridiculous clause in his contract that, for me, I wouldn't have done it. Other people, other opinions are.
Well, the thing is that during the season, he wasn't signed in the summer, was he? He was signed during the season, and the club had the opportunity to strengthen the squad indefinitely by bringing him in. So the clause was put in there by his agent and by the player. It's either sign or don't sign. So they brought him in, and it might have meant he might have stayed. You didn't know that at the time. This is just with hindsight. So I don't think that it was a bad thing to bring Clucas in when he came in. I think if Conlon had stayed fit, things would have been a lot different. We'd be just having to replace 1 central midfielder rather than 2. So that's been bad. I mean, the comments from Mickey Mellon there in his interview about Pett and Rossiter, he was very pleased with how they performed yesterday, and obviously they've only had a couple of games. So we're yet to see the real impact that they will have. The left back Leak, he did all right as well yesterday. So I just have to hope that January is just what it is, just a really poor month.
My views on a director of football are that I don't think a fifth division football club can be profligate in having such a sort of maybe an expensive individual on the backroom staff, because, like Matt says, we don't have a reserve team, we don't have a youth setup, proper one that is. So therefore, lots of the roles for a director of football would be redundant presently. And what you're in effect saying a director of football is doing is just in charge of transfer policy for the manager. Well,
no, a director of football sets the culture for the football inside of the club. Yeah. So it isn't necessarily just on transfers. It's
no, but I get this is the point. The only culture we have, the only culture we have really is the first team culture, because we don't really have a reserves or a youth team. So therefore, if you were talking about like setting a culture and a playing style, so whether that is for want of a better way of phrasing it, the tiki-taka sort of pass it out from the back like Gateshead do, or whether that's going more direct, some identity, let's call it that, giving the football club an identity and a structure where they coach the youth players to fit to the identity, so that there's a pathway for them to get into the first team, and then they recruit players with maybe younger players with a future sell-on value to sit into the identity, so that a bit like Gateshead have done in a way, when they've lost their best players, they've replaced them with unknowns that seem to fit into that system well. So they've set an identity which you can do over a longer period of time. It feels to me like that having a director of football to do that when you don't really have the backroom, the structure in the football club in terms of all the teams to set is it's something that would be great to aim for. But it feels like the football club have said, right, in the short term, we're going to invest all of our eggs into the first team basket to try and get back into the EFL, so we can think about setting longer term culture afterwards. And so therefore, if you do that, then you're 100% in with the manager, and the manager sets who you sign in, and that's it. And so therefore, Mellon and Phillips and Brabin, with his other coaching staff, with the scouts that go and watch, maybe with some of the stats products to sort of back up what they see with their eye, they're in charge of recruitment, and you were sort of reliant upon them to get it right. Which then leads us back to the last week's comment, which is, is he getting it right? Is he getting it right? I think I've totted up 28 players. I think you said it might have been 28 last week, so I may be missing one or two. But you kind of...
It was 27 at the time, but Stones had signed twice, so in effect, yeah.
Yeah, I've got Stones in twice, and then Matt Worthington, I think, has made it 28, assuming you included Pet, yeah. So I've got 28. Now, obviously, 7 of them, Worthington, Pet, Waters, Evans, Rossiter, Leek, Dennis. I'm not sure we can cast comment on them at the minute. Right? They've only played like 2 or 3 games each. You can't really make much comment. Like, of the other ones, so like for me, Josh Stones, when everyone sort of says, well, I can't believe we didn't sign Josh Stones and we've been blown out of the water. It was our coaching staff that picked him. In fact, when Josh Stones signed first time, I was scratching my head thinking, who's this 18-year-old kid that they've signed? Surely that's a load of nonsense. And then he turned out to be really good. And I was like, oh, hang on a minute. They must have a decent eye. That's good. So it was our coaching staff. Obviously, Wigan had signed him, so their coaching staff had seen him as well. But no one else was after him. So Stones worked twice. Of the other young lads they've signed, I think they signed Sakdev. I think that was theirs. Ethan Walker, Jesu Chegbalam, Jack Stretton, Sam Taylor, and Ollie Hammond. Some of those have played 1 or 2 games or barely at all and not caught. Hammond gets me scratching my head because he's definitely played well. I've seen Hammond play well in games and he's just not getting a look in. But he just, of the young players he brings in, they don't really have a go. Drummond was another one, of course, who looked like he had something but didn't really set the world on fire. But like, if you think about the summer that he had, or just before the summer, Conlon, Ogle, Month, Charsley, Caprice, that's pretty good. And that's a reasonably decent success rate. And then...
would you call Charsley a success?
Well, he looked great at the start. He was one of our best 2 players for the first 8 to 10 games. He's been injured since, obviously, but he definitely looked like a good player to me. I was delighted to have him. I thought he was a great signing. Did you not?
I don't disagree. However, since he's come back from injury, he's barely featured, and he's been fully fit for a few weeks. So
I'm not sure he is. I'm not sure he is fully fit at the minute. Even I think he just keeps picking up knocks. I think.
It is. There are a lot of things that make us curious over a season as fans, and we can't expect the club, any club, not just Latics, to put out, statements and descriptions and justifications for every single thing that they do. That's just not the way it goes. And there are signings that we've made where you think, well, what was the point? He comes in, he maybe gets 10 minutes as a sub, and then we never see him again. So there are things like that. But I mean, let's put things into perspective and look at what we were recruiting, what recruitment was like for the last 5, 6, 7 years. Absolutely abysmal. And so the squad has definitely strengthened. I don't think that we say this every time, but I don't think we were ever title contenders this season, but we still are. We still are title contenders. We could still win the league if we win our games in hand and beat the teams above us. Now, we're going to have to significantly improve, but we don't know if the midfield players that he's brought in, plus maybe another signing, a striker, could make a big difference. I think we need another striker in. We need somebody to come and start delivering the goals, unless Waters all of a sudden, starts to do the job. There's just still a lot of football left to be played this season, and obviously failure will be anything outside the top 7. I think we need to be trying to finish 3rd or 2nd at minimum. But again, I still think that Barnet, Forest Green and York might tip us. However, York are struggling, aren't they? The only problem is now, that the worry is now, is that we're having to look over our shoulder a little bit. If Altrincham had beaten Forest Green at the weekend, they'd have just been a point behind us. Rochdale got a good 4-0 win.
Rochdale, can't they?
Yeah, if Rochdale win their games in hand, they would go above us. Yeah.
But we do have to play Rochdale as well, so we can put some distance by beating them. So look, it's all setting up to be an exciting end to the season. It's just that January has been thoroughly depressing. 2 points out of 15 is not good enough. Like I thought, what Mellon's point in the interview was valid. Teams like Aldershot and Gateshead have just taken the chances. You said it, James. 6 out of the last 7 on goal. And we've just not been able to take it. We've not been able to do what they're doing. So, we took a bit of flack over the last couple of seasons by using the term fine margins, but it is relevant in getting football. It's not that the difference is often vast. So I think we've I've noticed lots of comments of people saying things about people starting to get on players' backs and saying things in the ground and stuff like that. And I can't really get behind that. I just want to, I think there has to be some kind of unity throughout the club in a desire to push in the right direction. I had a chat with Alan Jones the other night about something on the phone, the media guy, and he said like that the spirit in the club is good. He says nothing's changed with the players; it's just as good as it was. It's hard to put your finger on, but I think more than likely it's going to be things like your captain not being in the team and just how important he's been. So I don't think it's over by a long stretch, but we do need, we're going to another of our hoodoo teams on Saturday. We really, really need to beat Fylde on Saturday, don't we?
Yeah, we do. And there has to be a marked improvement. There's that York game in the week was dreadful, wasn't it? It was awful, a performance. Was it the case yesterday, like you said, that gravity took hold and they kept the ball on the floor? Because that diagonal that they kept pumping at York, it's tiresome. Like I don't mind getting. I actually don't want to see tick-a-tacker passing out from the back, 100 passes and losing the ball. It irritates me, modern day football. I want to see a bit of blood and thunder. And so therefore getting the ball into the box a lot and trying to pick up second balls and getting shots away. If that was the director of football's sort of in their image, then I could get behind that. But I don't want to see diagonals from deep lying positions most of the time in our own half, like every single time we get a hold of the football, because it becomes really, really, really monotonous, doesn't it, to watch?
I think Andy, on that point, and possibly the reason why we didn't see that yesterday at Gateshead was actually because of somebody who wasn't in the side, and that was Mark Kitchen. So Mark Kitchen has been the target for that long diagonal ball, and he's injured now and he's not going to be playing. So whether or not it's been like Mellon sort of said, all right, well, we can't play that tactic anymore and we have to start playing it, to feet because we've now got a different personnel. I don't know. If that's the only reason, then that would be a bit disappointing because it wasn't working for the games that Mark Kitchen's been in the side this year.
Yeah. If I just touch upon some of the
not this year, I mean not this season. I mean this year, as in January.
Yeah.
It was working in 2024.
Yeah, but it can work if it's a varied part of your armory.
Yeah,
it's something
100%.
that you do, a couple of times a half, not a couple of times every 5 minutes. It needs to not be every attack. Some of the other players that you think about that Mellon and his team have signed, like Callum Dolan, for example. And at times he looked like he had something about him, and then he got injured. Kai Payne, well, he was good.
Yeah.
Obviously not ours, so on loan. The only ones that you sort of say, well, like Jez started off the season fine, but obviously blows hot and cold. But yeah, you do scratch your head with Josh Kay and Otis Khan and what they've brought to the team in fits and starts. They're not going to get everyone right, but you kind of go through that list of players, and while some of the young ones that you got on loan didn't work out, I don't look down at any of them and think, Jesus Christ, he was rubbish. Like absolute, I can't play. Like some of the players that we had signed before that clearly weren't up to standard. So I think I'm still trusting in Mellon and his team to get it right. I'm like James said, he's not Mellon out. I just don't want to change manager. I'm just sick of changing managers. I want us to back a manager and the manager to back us and everyone to be together. It's good that Alan says the spirit's still there, because the other point is the whole Clucas and Stones thing becomes a bit of a side issue, becomes a bit of a red herring. It's almost like they were the only two reasons why we got any points. We were fifth before they arrived, and neither of them played at Leyton Orient when we played a League One team off the park for most of that 90 minutes, or a good 60 minutes of that 90 minutes. We were a better team, and neither of them played in that game. So, Conlon had a brilliant game, and Conlon has not been brilliant all season, has he? He just came into some really rich vein of form around November, December. So it could turn just as easily as it's turned sour at the minute. It could easily turn, and we go on another run of 6 to 8 games winning. And the only comment I make about some of it is fair to say, I think, that the teams that we've beaten, Forest Green being the anomaly, are all what you would class as teams we should be beating. So, Braintree twice, Wheelstone twice, Woking. When we've come up against Gateshead, we've not beaten them twice. York turned us over. We got a point at Barnet. Against the teams around us, if we're really going to show that we're good enough, we're going to have to, give one of them a good hiding at some stage. And then, sorry, finally, because I'm talking too much now. The finally is the striker thing. Is if Norwood's out injured again, it does cast into the why did we play him against York? If he was, because that's injured him, hasn't it? If he was already injured, we played him when he wasn't fully fit. He didn't look fully fit to me. And if he's now out for a while, then we're probably going to need someone to play with Waters and Mikey, because of course Joe Garner is.
Well, that was the only cover we had on the bench, Andy, at the weekend, wasn't it? So we are light up front. What do you make of all that, James?
Well, I think York were kind of everything that we're not really. That like they're quite multi-dimensional. They've got triggers. They've got nice patterns of play and everything. They press really high. I think when we come up against the better teams in the division, that's when we resort back to this long ball game that we've been playing recently. You know, we look a better team when we play on the floor or when we mix it up a bit. And yeah, since I think it probably makes sense that we've kind of gone back to this with not having Conlon in the team and Clucas in the team. So we've got pretty much a brand new midfield in both the Aldershot and York games before yesterday. So it does make sense that you'd want to kind of keep them away from danger, so to speak. Yeah, it's just, I don't know, like January, we were riding a crest of a wave, I think, going into January, and now it's kind of all, not collapsed. Collapse is a bit extreme, but it's definitely gone down. I mean, against York, that was York's first away win, I think, since October. And you can use this for both sides of the argument, I suppose, but there was actually, in the starting 11, I think there was 6 Unsworth signings and 5 Mellon signings in there. So if you sign in, 20-odd players, 30 players since you've been here, and yet you still can't manage to put a team, at least more players than your previous manager, then I don't know. That doesn't fill me with very much confidence. I mean, Mellon signed 3 goalkeepers that haven't played a league game.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's mainly down to having a settled number, what you describe as a settled number one. So, I mean, look, I think you can be justified in saying that, if all these players, you'd expect, maybe more of them being in there, but I don't know. I think if we start picking up points again, then we'll forget about January pretty quickly. We've got to play all these teams that we've beaten already, or that the teams that we should be beating. We've got to play a lot of them again. But there's no easy games. Like looking at we've got Fylde, who we struggle against. Then we've got Rochdale away, which is going to be a really tough game. Solihull away, tough game. Altrincham at home. We don't do well against Altrincham, and they're on a really good run of form. Then we've got Sutton, and Maidenhead, Dagenham and Redbridge. So that takes us up to the end of February pretty much. It's not going to be easy, and it's up to us to find that form, to find the goals, to find that defensive cohesion that we had at the beginning of the season. Stop conceding sloppy goals. It really does. I mean, last season when we had Shelton and Sheeran and season before, and talking about the centre of midfield, it just shows, doesn't it? When we had Conlon in there and he was our settled main man in the midfield, how it contributes towards having a solid defence and how it contributes towards having an effective forward line. That midfield is so important, and it is frustrating that we've had to chop and change at this stage in the season. But hopefully, the character and the pedigree of the players that they've brought in will be good enough. They've got the experience, they've got the league pedigree. They should be good enough to fit into the National League and be able to do the business.
I think there have been promising signs with Pep and Rossiter in midfield. So yeah, with Conlon being out, hopefully these two can sort of step up. I mean, from January up until the middle of February, the 6 weeks, 7 weeks was always going to sort of define our season. I think, we're playing a lot of teams, bogey teams, like you've already said, Gateshead, Fylde, Solihull did us over this season and last season at home. Altrincham, we always struggle against. So yeah, it's always going to be like a defining moment of the season.
Yeah, 1st of March we've got Barnet at home, so we need to be going into that game, with a good haul of points, so that we can hopefully close the gap on them.
Mellon's got to earn his money at this point, Annie. He was. If you bear in mind, I think you said, Matt, and got pilloried for it from certain corners. You didn't think Mickey Mellon was the future of Oldham Athletic. Even before he'd become our manager. And that was because, going back to James's point earlier about setting an identity and going down a modern route, we tried that. We'd recruited a youth coach from a Premier League academy, which is what some clubs do to try and set a culture through the youth setup and all that. And that's why the whole of the podcast was behind the idea of David Unsworth's recruitment, but it didn't work out. So instead of doing that again, they've gone with the other way, which is get experience in, who knows how to get you out of this league. And he's going to have to earn his money in the next few weeks and show us how he's doing it, because his approach is to sign players with hundreds of Football League games experience behind them that are an experienced age. And there's a different type of risk that comes with that. But hopefully, their recruitment eye will work more often than it won't work. And we'll get some form going.
Yeah, you have to think that, based on the first half of the season, that we've got enough. Obviously, the result against Aldershot, which really, I mean, if you think about it, we'd look at the performances, but getting beat at Hartlepool is it's not the most embarrassing defeat in the league, is it? Boston beat York at their place the other day. That's more embarrassing for York than us losing at Hartlepool, right? Point against Eastleigh, well, it's not an easy place to go necessarily. Not too bad. Beaten by York, well, York are up there, aren't they? Point at Gateshead. It's the Aldershot one that's the really bad result, really, out of those five. They're not. I mean, they're all bad results in terms of points haul, but we've got no divine right to go to Hartlepool and win, although we did easily last season. The Aldershot home game is by far the worst result of those. So just looking at the first half of the season, that's where my mind is, to just think this is just a bit of a blip, and we've got enough in the squad to start picking up those points again and winning the games that we feel we should be winning. But we've got to do it. Like, it's all very well thinking that and hoping that, but we've got to do it. And this season, people, I mean, you see it all the time. We've got to go up this season. We've got to go up. It's all over. The football club will disintegrate, and Oldham Athletic will fail to exist. It doesn't, does it? We go again, don't we, next season? So there's a more of a probability that we won't get promoted than we'll get promoted. That's, statistically. Do you know what I mean? That's just the way it is. So we need to be prepared for that. Are you just looking ahead of next season? And just based on the fact of what I've just said, that statistically we're less likely to go up than go up. Are you confident, James, that having seen how he recruited in the summer and the improvements in the squad from in performances from last season, that given another season at Boundary Park, Mickey Mellon would have us properly in contention next season in the National League?
No. I think we've got, is it 8, 9 players that are contracted beyond this summer? So again, it's another rebuild, isn't it? It's another probably 15 players coming in the summer. How much of this is legacy issues in terms of the amount of decent contracts we can give out? Still holding on to players like Nuttall and Willoughby and people like this, and Mellon is. You can't look back and say that, right, Mellon, you are responsible wholly for everything that's happened at this football club over this number of periods. This is what I'd like. You see, I'd like to be able to hold Mickey Mellon to account in 3 or 4 seasons, either by praising him and saying, you've done an incredible job and you're responsible for this because you've got us to this point, or saying, well, you've got no excuses now because you've recruited all the players, you've had all the opportunity in the world, and then you let them go, rather than, letting people go when they've not really had the chance to do the job properly. Well, yeah, but I mean, that's kind of where he's going to be at next season, isn't it? That I think all of them will be his signings then next season.
But he needs a season with them, surely.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
But the players that we're bringing in aren't on pennies. Do you know what I mean? It's like there's only so much you can say of the legacy and the previous players that have either left the club or are out on loan currently, that we're still paying part of their wages, like Reed, Willoughby, Nuttalls, etc. But yeah, like I said, the players that he's bringing in currently, I imagine Tom Pett, I imagine Cheltenham won't be paying any of his wages. I don't know this for certain, but we'll probably be paying a very hefty chunk of that. Same with Rossiter. So, it's not, you can't say that it's not on Mellon when he's still bringing in a hell of a lot of players on good money, albeit some of them for a short period of time. But in that point, you can't gain success by having multiple month loans and few month contracts, etc. It has to be built over at least a year, 18 months, 2 years.
And I think that's fair, and therefore he's had, what has he had? He's had one. He's had one summer and a couple of Januaries, and that's about it. So can you say that he's had enough time to do that? Probably not. I mean, the thing for me with I didn't expect us to be signing 7 players now, possibly 8 if another one comes in, because you'd say with letting Reed go that you are not on missing out on Stones. You probably need another striker, especially with Norwell being injured. I didn't expect us to be signing 7, 8 players now. I thought it'd be 3. So you can see that the club is absolutely going for it. They're going for it. The people that own it, the people that pump the money in, the manager, they're absolutely going for it. They're doing everything that they can to try and get us promoted at this attempt. And there'll be some people who just listen to you, Matt, talk about next season in the National League. Will be shaking red, going, "Oh, the podcast have given up. Matt thinks we're not going." While statistically you might be correct, I think we've got as good a chance as anybody with Mellon, especially having done it before, and with us having experienced players, that if we get into the playoffs, we'll have a very, very good chance of winning the playoffs. And we could 100%. do we not finishing 7th and having to go play away twice in order to get to Wembley. But I hope we win
the league, Andy. I hope we smash everybody out of the park. I really do. And if we don't, that we make the playoffs and we win it. But I'm just trying to be realistic in that it's not guaranteed. We've seen teams like Notts County and Wrexham absolutely smash the league, finish second, 100 points, not go up. Like, you can't do any more than that. Like, it's just a very, very, very unforgiving league, isn't it? It's really, really hard to get out of that first place. So I'm just preparing myself for, and I think as well, I'm trying to sort of like look ahead and think, right, I'm trying to anticipate the reaction. Yeah, for me, Mellon has failed if he doesn't get us into the playoffs. That's an abject failure, and I'd be surprised if he was at the club the season after that. And I don't think you could argue with that. However, I think if we get into the playoffs and we don't make it up, there will be people within the fan base that are calling for his head, I'm sure. I would be saying, look, you've got to give the guy another season. Because otherwise you're just starting all over again, and because the thing is that when these things happen, like you don't everyone the anticipation is that everything's going to get worse again next season, as opposed to it could actually improve next season. Do you know what I mean? So that's whether your glasses are full or half empty, which is the perpetual conversation we have on it
is. One of the things that that James has raised in the conversation about in the last hour is about identity and approach and the structure of recruitment and all that sort of stuff. There's a very fair and valid conversation about it. See, the thing that I thought we would have done by now, and the signings of Hammond, when they signed Hammond this time last year, didn't they? About January times when we signed Hammond. I looked at Hammond, never heard of him before, look him up. Notts Forest Academy, plays for Wales under 21s. You're like, okay, cool. Right. So we're recruiting players for the future. And obviously, we'd already got Lundstrom, who's a young lad who started to show some promise this season. And you think to yourself, great, that's what this club, the only way that this club survives without, a benefactor putting money in, is we sell players on for a significant profit. And that has to be the sign of young players. So the thing that keeps getting me scratching my head a little bit is, signing 32-year-old this, 34-year-old that, 33-year-old this is not going to give us that opportunity. But I sort of have to conclude that it's about a short-term recruitment policy is around trying to get us up. And the collective at the club think that is the best way to do it from the position that they inherited. And I have to back them to understand that they know more than I do. But at some point, we've got to get into a position where we're focusing on signing young players that we can resell instead of 30-year-olds that have been around the block a bit that aren't going to have much resale value. And that is something that maybe the Rothwells are learning. This is only their third season. This is their third time of having a go. And they must have learned stuff now and over that 3-year period that they wouldn't have known before. And then hopefully, as years progress, things start to set in terms of structure and culture. And the other thing that I say to myself is, look at where we were and where we are. We're on the way back. All right, we're not coming back as fast as people want. And there are all these data points you can throw out. Well, Chesterfield were never out of the playoffs, or such a team didn't do this, and we're not that and the other. We're still only our third year in here, and the average is 4 years to get out. So it depends what data point you want.
Can I ask James a question on that, Andy? So let's look at the clubs that have got out and that were down here for a long time. Wrexham and Stockport are the biggest, the obvious examples, and they are challenging now towards the top end of League One. Would you rather the club got out of this division this season and then languished at the bottom of League Two for the next 10 years? Or would you rather us hang around in this division and get it right at this level and then push up quicker into the higher leagues? How's that for a hypothetical question?
Can I just add to that? I think the 10 years was a bit loaded, but if a fairer way of framing
10 years was accurate for Stockport and Wrexham. I mean, it was even longer for both those clubs, wasn't it?
I think a good question to ask is would you rather us get out of this league quickly and then it takes us a little while to get out of League Two, or would you rather us stay in this league for a few more years and then rocket straight through League Two in one go?
So I think so. That's why I think that currently there's a lot of players on short-term contracts, and that's why we only have very few players. Well, this is what I'm hoping anyway. Very few players that are contracted beyond this summer. So my hope and expectation for the summer, if we don't go up this season, is that we start to sign the young players that Andy was talking about, that can get resale value and that can, make the club some money and can reinvest into the first team. Now, obviously, I would rather go up as soon as possible, but percentage-wise, that's not looking likely, and especially given our performances against the top teams. So I'm probably happy to wait as long as success is almost guaranteed pretty much straight away after we go up.
I'm going to answer that question from my perspective. I think if we look at the performances against Tranmere and Leyton Orient, I think we could, in theory, with some additions, compete in League Two pretty quickly. I think it's right to say we've got 7 players contracted, 8 players including Worthington, who we signed this week, 8 players on contracts beyond the year, of which Ogle's 25, Monf is 29, Conlon's 28, Kay's 27, Waters is 30, and we think we've got options on Lundstrom 25 and Norwood 34. So only Norwood is significantly over 30 out of those, and Worthington's 27. So actually the players we've got signed are all of a good age. You'd imagine the players like Pet. I think Pet's partner plays for Manchester United ladies and wants to live in the Northwest because they've got a young baby. So you'd imagine that they've probably had a conversation with Pet beyond this season. It's just loan till the end of the year and then we'll sort contracts out in the summer. Maybe the same for Rossiter, who's from Liverpool. So even though some of these players are not signed to us yet, you'd imagine that they may well be. Roster's only 27. So you could easily see, if they get up this year, I could easily see us competing at the top end of League Two next year. And I expect us to as well. I don't think it has to be either of those two eventualities that we just posed to James. I think it could be a third one, which is we go up this year and then we're in the playoffs in League Two next year.
I mean, look. I mean, hypotheticals they're great for a talking point, but they are just that. And I think what the point really that I'm trying to make with it is, if we don't go up this season and we don't go up next season, it's not the end of the world. It's not great, but look at what, if you'd have said to a Stockport fan when they were in the National League North, give it a few years, you'll be at the top end of League One. But you're just going to have to be patient. They would have taken it. Now, I can hear people saying, we've been patient for long enough. We've been here for 30 odd years. I know. I've been there since we were good. Like, I know what it's like. I feel it. But it goes on. Football goes on. It continues every year, and things change. And I think that we will get out of this division, and I think we will go on that run. I hope it's sooner rather than later. I really do.
People will also be saying to that, yes, but the Rothwells won't continue to fund it if we don't get out soon. Because I think it's probably safe to say that Stockport's owner is like wealthier on another scale. And so therefore there's only so far that the Rothwells can take it. And so there would have to be a cutting of cloth.
But what the Rothwells have done, Andy, is make the football club far more investable. And improve the club. So look, we're not dependent on the Rothwell's finite resources forever, are we? So we don't. Well,
we are at the minute.
Yeah, we are at the minute. We are at the minute.
Yeah.
But the point is that things change, and we don't know what's round the corner. And the mindset of Latics fans is that what's round the corner is shite. that's always the mindset, because everything that has been around the corner, in fairness, over the last 30 years has been shy, but that isn't always going to be the case. So let's just hope that for the rest of this season there is real grounds for optimism for next season, whether that means that we're going to be in League Two next season or we're going to be in the National League. That next season is going to be better than this season, in the way that hopefully by the end of this season will have been better than last season.
Mate, so, in 8 years, we're going to be in the Championship. As I predicted 2 years ago when I said give it 10.
I hope so. I really, really hope so. And then we'll have a whole new world of problems on our plates. But speaking of problems, let's give James one, because you have to do Latics Mind because you're here.
Yeah, let's do it.
So we're expecting the sort of like, what, early 2000s and beyond, from there to be your kind of specialist era?
Well, I took quite a long break as well. So when I was 16, I ended up working in pubs and restaurants and things like that. So Saturday afternoons wasn't exactly a football going adventure. So well, I'm not looking forward to this one bit, but
don't worry, mate. Don't worry. Right, good luck. Here we go.
Thanks.
Who was Latics kit manufacturer between 2000 and 2004?
Pass.
Which midfielder did Latics sign on loan from Celtic in January 2018?
No, don't know.
Pass. Who was Latics' top scorer in the Premier League in 1992-93?
Ian Marshall.
Ian Olney. Latics' Sky TV Super Sunday debut was against Everton in October 1992. Who scored the winner that day?
Andy Ritchie.
It was Richard Jobson. Who scored twice away at Solihull Moors last season?
Josh Stones.
It was Nathan Sheeran. Who scored Latics' last league goal at Tranmere Rovers?
Davis Keeler Dunn.
It was Dylan Bahambula.
Oh,
How many games? I gave this away the other week. How many games did Latics lose in their championship winning season of 1990-91?
9.
8. Who scored Latics' last goal at the City Ground, Nottingham?
No idea.
Pass.
Let Milligan.
Since 2008, what has Latics' highest place finish been on the football pyramid?
4th.
15th in League One in 2014-15.
Oops, I did a loop. Stop. Okay, sorry about that.
So you scored a grand total of none.
Mm.
Right, let's go through the passes,
My
man.
head in.
Let's go through the let's go.
It's 2 triangles, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I think because it started off right in your wheelhouse, given the years that you went, that just knocked you off the rest of the questions.
Derailed me, yeah.
Who was
I've got one so far. I got the one that you gave the answer away to the other week under the 8.
Yeah,
I went for Graham Sharp over Ian Olney. So I've only got one so far.
Right. So who was Latics' kit manufacturer between 2000 and 2004?
Was it Sparta?
That's
Correct. Correct. Yeah. Which midfielder did Latics sign on loan from Celtic in January 2018?
I got no idea.
It was Kundai Benyu.
Yeah.
One of those signings that materialised, and you couldn't work out whether it was Wellens or it was the Lemzagams just throwing players at him.
Don't remember that name.
Who scored Latics' last goal at the City Ground, Nottingham?
Jose Baxter.
Yeah, Jose Baxter. Yeah.
Correct. Yeah.
I knew it as soon as I'd answered that.
Yeah, Jose Baxter. Yeah. There we go.
Anyway.
It's more difficult when you've got the clock ticking down on you like that, though, isn't it, James? To be fair. Yeah, it is. Well, James, I mean, I'm disappointed we didn't argue more. To be honest,
yeah, it's been quite timid, hasn't it?
It's easier to argue on the internet, isn't it? It's just a lot easier. Yeah, it's just ideal. It's the ideal place for it. We've got lots more opportunities to argue online anyway before the end of the season. I don't just mean you and I personally. I mean as a collective fan base. Hopefully, though, we won't have to. But I'm sure we will.
We'll find.
Yeah. So anyway, it's 8:45 now. This podcast will be going out in 10 minutes. 10 to 9. So it's but thanks for sticking around and pulling a late shift with us, James.
That's no worries. Enjoyed
Thanks
it.
to you too, Andrew.
Yeah, no, it's good. Enjoyed it, James. Good chat.
Yeah, no, it's been good. Yeah, it's been good. I think the director of football question is an interesting one. And I reckon it's something the club will be looking at a bit further down the line. But look, it's all about short term now. It's unbelievable running now. We've got filed away, and then we've got that 6 games in 14 days after that. It's just absolutely massive. It really is massive. We've got to start winning games of football. Who's going to Filed? Are you going, James?
No, I'm not. No.
You're not coming up, Andy?
No, my next one will be Solihull. I'll go to that one.
Oh, I'll go to that one as well. It's my birthday weekend that weekend.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, not far from mine as well. Yeah, I'll see you there.
Lovely. Well, I'll see you in Solihull, but I'll see you next week first. Oh no, I won't. You're not here next week.
No, you got Dave.
Got Dave. Yeah. Okay. Super. Right. I'll see Dave. Well, I'll see you on Thursday for the Latics football phone-in. Don't be a stranger. Give us a shout. We had a busy one on Thursday because we've lost. So predictable. So predictable. As soon as you start losing, everyone can't wait to get on the blower and let us know where we're at. So we didn't lose this week, but we only managed to draw. So never mind. Onwards and upwards. See you on Thursday for the phone-in. Thanks for listening. Goodbye. Hey Dave, did you know that listeners can now buy us a coffee or any other kind of hot beverage?
Ooh,
What's your favourite hot beverage, Dave?
a macchiato.
And how do you like your macchiato?
Black with lots of milk.
No cream?
No,
Well, if you want to buy Dave a
macchiato.
then go to buymeacoffee.com/We Are Oldham. I'll just have a Nescafe.
Ooh, thank you, listeners.